My name is Robert, but everyone calls me Bob. I am 65, and I learned a new word at my age that I wish I never had to learn: guarantor. It's when you promise a hospital you will pay, even if the person is basically a stranger to the country. This one moment, I want to throw up when I replay it in my head. It's the moment I realized I got played. The ironic part is that it was not a text message or a lipstick stain or some dramatic confession. It was a man I had never met, sitting at my dining table, drinking tea from my mug, with two suitcases by the door, like he already owned the place. And I am standing there thinking, how the hell did I end up here? Because 2 years earlier, I was wearing a flower crown in a Russian living room, doing a хороводе with my new wife's family, while they called me our American dad. I used to be the guy who rolled his eyes at romance scams, like, how do people fall for that? And then it happened to me. After my divorce, my house felt too quiet. I had money, I had routines, I had my Sunday coffee, but I did not have that human noise. So I joined a dating site. I told myself I would talk to people, maybe meet someone nearby, maybe go on a few dinners. You know, normal. Then I met Lyudmila. She was 33, Russian, bright smile, huge expressive eyes, the kind of person who texts like she smiles while typing. She wrote in this sweet, broken English, and every message had warmth. Good morning, my comrade. How is your day? I make kulibyaka today. You like? It sounds cheesy now, but at the time it felt like somebody opened a window in my life. She told me she lived in Yaroslavl on the Volga, and she made it sound vivid, like she could point to every street from memory. She talked about old churches, long winters, the river, the golden ring tourists that show up with cameras. She talked about loyalty, tradition, how she wanted a stable husband, a real marriage, no games. She said American men feel safe to her. She said Russian men lie. That should have made me pause, but instead I felt chosen. We talked for months, video calls, long messages, photos of her making food, photos of her walking by the river. She learned little jokes in English to make me laugh. And I mean, I felt alive again. I felt like a man someone wanted. I flew to Russia after about 3 months. I told my friends it was an adventure. I mean, it was, technically. Ludmila met me at the airport with flowers and this dramatic run into my arms like a movie. I remember thinking, okay, this is real. Her family greeted me like I was a returning soldier. Her mother kissed me on both cheeks. Her father poured me vodka and kept calling me our American. Her brother slapped my back like we were buddies for life. Her sister recorded everything on her phone like I was a celebrity. That first night, they made me do a Russian horovody. I did not even know what it was. They pushed the table aside, put on music, and suddenly I am holding hands in a circle with 5 people I barely know, stepping left and right, everybody laughing while I try to keep up. Someone put a flower crown on my head. Her sister yelled something in Russian that made everyone howl, and her mother clapped like I won a medal. It was cringy, yes, but it also felt like belonging. And after years of feeling like an extra in my own life, belonging hits you hard. I went back to the US and we kept talking. She started hinting at marriage. She said she wanted to be my wife, but she hated the idea of long distance suffering. She wanted stability fast. She talked about visas, paperwork, timelines. She sent me lists, like actual lists, of what we needed. So I did it. I proposed. I bought a ring that, in hindsight, should have come with a warning label. I paid an attorney to help with the visa. I paid the fees. I paid for another trip to Russia, and we did the courthouse thing there. She cried. Her mother cried. Everybody called me husband, like I had joined a club. When she arrived in the US, I picked her up at the airport. She had one suitcase and a face full of relief. She hugged me like I saved her life. That's when the financial request started. Soft at first. Her mother's knee was worse, like pain every day, cannot walk, cannot sleep worse. Ludmila told me her mother needed a knee replacement and that the doctors in Russia were unsafe. She said, "In America, you have real medicine. Please help my mama." And look, I loved this woman. I wanted to be the guy who takes care of family. She kept repeating that family is everything, and if I helped, it meant I was truly part of them. So I said yes. Then it became, my father cannot stay in Russia alone. Then, my brother has opportunity in US. He can work. Then, my sister wants to study English. She can help us. It was always framed as temporary, always framed as gratitude, always framed as we will all be one family. I sponsored them. I paid for flights. I paid for temporary housing, then a bigger apartment because my house was too small for everyone. I furnished the place because they arrived with basically nothing. I bought phones, a laptop, winter jackets, and I swear, a special blender because her mother cannot live without this model. Her family loved to perform gratitude. They cooked huge meals. They called me our American dad. They took photos with me and posted them everywhere. Her mother would hold my hand and say, "Bob, you good man, God send you." Her father would toast me with homemade tincture that tasted like gasoline and cherries. And I ate it up. I mean, what else do you call it? I ate it up. Ludmila also pushed me to keep finances separate for safety, which I thought was reasonable. She said she did not want to look like she married me for money. She kept saying, "I want you to trust me, but I want independence." It sounded mature. I respected it. But there were little weird moments. She got defensive about paperwork. She hated when I asked questions. She would say, "You worry too much. You insult me." She also controlled the mail. She wanted to open everything first. Because my English better now, I can help. If I tried to open something, she would hover behind me like a shadow. She also had two phones. One was always face down. If I walked into a room, she would flip it fast. If I asked who she was texting, she would say her sister or her friend from back home or women group chat. Then the biggest weird moments happened at the hospital. When her mother finally got the knee replacement, I had to sign as the financial guarantor. I remember sitting there with a clipboard and the nurse asked, "Are you Mr. Petrov?" I laughed and said no. The nurse looked confused and pointed to the form. The patient's last name was not the one Ludmila told me. Different spelling too.
Different everything. Ludmila snapped right there in the hallway. Russian transliteration. It changed, no problem. She smiled too hard, like she tried to glue the moment back together. The nurse shrugged. I signed anyway because I felt embarrassed, like I was making a scene, but it stuck in my head.
A few weeks later, I got a notification from my doorbell camera while I was at the grocery store. There was a man at the apartment door. Tall, athletic, shaved head, expensive jacket. He had 2 suitcases and a grocery bag, like he already lived there. He pressed the buzzer like he owned the place. I watched on my phone as Ludmila opened the door and froze. She looked over her shoulder into the apartment, then stepped outside, blocking the doorway with her body. She spoke fast in Russian. The man smiled like it was funny. Then he pushed past her and walked inside. My hands started shaking so hard I dropped a bag of oranges in the aisle. I drove back like I was in a panic dream. When I got to the apartment, I could hear Russian voices before I even opened the door. I walked in and saw him sitting at my dining table, drinking tea from my mug. Ludmila stood beside him, pale, eyes flicking everywhere except at me. Her mother sat in the living room, smiling like a proud hostess. Her brother sat on the couch like it was a normal Tuesday. Her sister held her phone up, recording, like this was some reality show moment. I said, "Who is he?" Ludmila said, "This is friend from Russia. He helped family." The man looked at me, calm as anything, and said in decent English, "Hello, thank you for everything, Bob." Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder. He slid it across the table like a business deal. Inside were copies of documents in Russian with translations stapled on top. A marriage certificate, her name on it, her birth date, his name, the date from years earlier. I stared at it and said, "This is fake." He shook his head. "Real. She never divorced. She changed passport, new surname, new number. You cannot find." I looked at Ludmila. She started crying, but it felt rehearsed, like the same tears she used when she wanted something. She said, "I was afraid you leave. I wanted better life. Please, you understand?" And then, like the final slap, he leaned back and smiled at the room like he was giving a little speech. He said, "Now everything done. Apartment, papers, mother surgery, family here. It is easy now. I can pay rent. We live together. Thank you, sir." Her mother nodded, actually nodded, like he said something sensible. I felt my face get hot. I felt stupid in a way I had never felt before, like my whole identity as a competent adult got stripped away in 1 minute. I remember looking at my own hands like, these are the hands that signed all this. I asked Ludmila one last time, "Is any of this real?" She whispered, "I do care about you." But she did not say, "I love you." She did not say, "I chose you." She said the safest sentence available, like she practiced it. I walked out. Nobody followed me. Nobody begged. The door closed behind me, and that was it. Later, when I sat down with my bank statements and my receipts, I calculated what I spent. I wanted a number because my brain needed something solid to hold on to. Here is what it came out to, rounded to the nearest $100. 2 trips to Russia, flights and hotels, $9,000. Engagement ring, $6,500.
Visa process and attorney for Ludmila, $12,000. Wedding costs in the US, $18,000. Flights for Ludmila and 4 family members, $6,000. Temporary housing when they arrived, $3,000. Apartment rent for 14 months at about $3,200 per month, $44,800. Deposit and move-in fees, $7,000. Furniture, appliances, setup, $15,000. Car purchase, $28,000. Car insurance and registration, $2,500. Monthly support money for 12 months at about $2,500, $30,000. English classes and driving lessons, $2,500. Immigration help for family paperwork, $16,000. Mother's knee replacement out of pocket costs, $52,000. Rehab and physical therapy, $9,000. Phones, laptops, gifts, random family needs, $6,000. Total, about $267,300. $267,300 for a marriage that was fake on day one. So yeah, if you're watching this and you think that could never be me, I used to think that too. The trick is that it does not feel like a scam while it happens. It feels like love and duty and pride and being the hero. And then one day you realize you were the wallet in the room, not the husband. If you ever see someone rushing timelines, controlling paperwork, insisting on secrecy, or treating your money like a family resource before trust has time to grow, pause. Talk to a lawyer. Talk to a friend who will tell you the truth. Put protections in place before your kindness turns into their strategy.